This is not working. Okay, never mind. I'm going to be eating while making this, so this may kind of like be hard to understand, but I just got arrested. This is something that I have been worrying about for like forever, especially due to the fact that like I knew that even once I finally did make it to 18, which I consider quote unquote beating the system, because of course for the things that were done to me in the cash for kids system and all that, their end goal is for me to either be completely insane, dead, or locked up by the time I was 18. So basically the point of the goal of the cash for kids system for everybody is for you to really not make it to 18, or to be one of the obedient slaves to the system, but more so really to eventually kill you or whatever. So I was always like, I can't wait till I finally make it to 18 so I can say that I actually made it and that I actually beat the system and all that. But even with all that, I was like, due to the fact that I look so much younger than I actually am, I'm still at risk of being arrested and thrown into the cash for kids system even once I do make it to 18. And that was kind of like something to worry about, but then eventually I was like, honestly, I want it to happen. Even as weird as that sounds, because like just being arrested and having the police arrest me and being put in the back of the car, knowing that their goal is to send me to some cash for kids system placement where I'd be tortured and all that. Just me knowing that their goal is to like ruin my life and tear me apart, but they aren't able to do it, they being like the police or whatever. It's kind of like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it feels good knowing that I can no longer be thrown to the cash for kids system and assaulted and locked up and drugged and all that stuff. I mean, at least in the cash for kids system placements, but honestly, I mean, with how racist the people out here are, and also with the homeless hate and the fact that I've been homeless, I mean, I'm kind of somewhat at risk of being put into the adult institution systems, or I don't know, I don't really want to call them that. I guess I could call it the post cash for kids system. So basically what I'm saying is that I am at risk of being thrown into jail all the time, because that's what they do to try to get homeless people to want to leave. And so anyway, to get back to the point, I had honestly been thinking about this for months and thinking about like getting arrested, maybe even helping some people escape or something if I did get thrown to the cash for kids system, if I ever did have run-in with the police and I didn't have like my ID or whatever on me. And so basically it kind of happened, but I didn't get past the cop car though. So I was holding up a sign. Well, it's not even really busking. It was, I guess you can consider it that, but really I was holding up one of those, not I work for cash, but I work for $15 an hour. That's not even the minimum wage, but I mean, I'm kind of like doing what I can now. So at least that was the minimum wage the last time I checked, but apparently it changed since then. So I was holding up that sign about like how I do cleaning work, because that's even what I was doing before I left my situation. I will like take out people's trash and stuff. But this was about dishwashing and something else. Basically house cleaning. I think maybe I had car washing on there, but I mean, I don't really... I mean, if they have a hose at their house. So yeah, pretty much house cleaning. So I was holding up that sign, and then something happened that happened a couple other times before, but I didn't fall for them. Especially since I was still quote unquote a minor then, so I had to like make sure I don't take the risk of falling for situations, which the situation is where somebody will claim that they're gonna like help you or offer you something, but really they're just saying that to corner you so they can call the police on you, so you can get locked up and thrown in some cash for kids system placement. And of course, it would have happened while I was still a quote unquote minor, is that I just would have been locked up wherever for however long and then got charged and whatever else, and then I would have just been put back in my previous situation that I was escaping. So this has happened before, but it was a little different this time though. So basically, I was done trying to busk or whatever you want to call it, because it really never works, and I really think that it's just the fact that most people really aren't going to trust me enough for a lot of reasons. One, just the fact that I'm homeless and quote unquote a bum and may steal stuff. And then also a lot of other racial stuff. Most people aren't going to trust me enough to let me like help them clean their house or clean their house myself anyway. But I mean, I still tried in the time being, because of course I have been trying to get a job that's been going how it's been going. So yeah, anyway. In fact, I've actually been waiting to be subcontracted to work on a farm, but that I don't really know what's been going on with that. The people said that like the first people weren't really responding, so the subcontracting thing, that I don't even know what to say about that. So yeah, I was doing that, and then I was done because it just wasn't working. And so I went into a restaurant, or like kind of like a fast food place somewhat. But anyway, I went into a restaurant to ask what time it was, because I was seeing if it was dinner time or not back at the shelter. Because if it was dinner time, I was going to just walk back over there. But if not, I was just going to like sit somewhere and look at the trees or whatever. And so I asked what time it was. The people told me. So then I was about to leave. And then this dude came out, and he was like, "Hey kid, do you want something? Have you eaten? And do you want some money or some food or something?" I was like, "I mean, if you want to give me something, it doesn't really make a difference, but I'd rather have the money, because I was just gonna go to the shelter, maybe somewhere else to get something to eat." And that's the thing too, when you're doing the runaway lay low till 18 thing, or when you're just homeless in general and you're trying to like save money for housing or whatever else, you really don't want to be picky and try to get like certain types of food. This is a side thing, but like you don't want to be picky with food, because like you just shouldn't spend your money on food when you can get it for free. That was the point I was trying to make, but then I started kind of dissociating. But yeah, that's a side thing. But to get back to the point, I'd rather have had the money even in this case, because I wanted to save money for obvious reasons, and there wasn't really a point in me choosing the food, since there's places I could go get food for free that were closer. Because of course, like a while back, before I knew where to go to get free food, or like just when I'm not close enough and I'm in too much pain or sick or whatever and I can't walk there, then I would want to like spend money on food or like get food from people. But you don't want to do that too much, especially when you're doing the lay low till 18 thing, because that just gives people a reason to corner you into calling the police, which is what happened here. So I'm going to get back to the point now. Okay, so he claimed that he was going to go get a couple dollars and then come back out. I was standing there. And see, I feel kind of dumb now, because I feel like I should have understood what was going on here. But like, if the setting was different, then definitely, because like I've been in situations where people claim that they were going to go to the grocery store that was like nearby to get something for me to eat and then come back. But I knew that obviously they were going to call the police. So I just left and I hid somewhere. But this situation, hold up, I got the mucus build up. But this situation, it just wasn't clicking for me for whatever reason. And so, okay, it's 10 minutes in, I gotta hurry up. I was waiting there, but then I was like, okay, he's taking a really, really long time. And so then I went back in the restaurant and I just sat in there to wait. And this isn't even exactly why. This is kind of like a fifth reason. Because for one, I don't like asking people for stuff. And usually when people offer stuff, I don't take it because of things like this, and even just because I don't like taking stuff from people. And I've always been the type of person, probably really due to trauma, that I really rather just like not depend on other people for stuff. But I was like, I'm trying to save up money, so that's why I accepted it. But it's like, I don't even remember what point I was trying to make. Okay, wait a minute. I had paused it so I could eat somewhere in my food, and now I really definitely don't remember what I was saying, but I know it has something to do with people, like, basically trying to set you up. So something to keep in mind is that people claim they're going to do something for you just to set you up and corner you somewhere, so that way they can call the police, and then they'll try to distract you, which he didn't even do it like some people had did another time. He distracted me by, like, going back into the restaurant and then disappearing, and then I didn't see him again. And so, what was I about to say? I don't even know. But, yeah, so, went back in there, and then the police had popped up. I was honestly just thinking about getting up and leaving, but I don't know. But, well, no. Let me go back. I was thinking about just getting up and leaving, but then I thought about it, and I was like, I could really get a power trip out of this. As bad as that sounds, but it's like I said, it's really just a good feeling to know that, like, even if I get in their car, they have to let me out, and that I can't be shipped off to be tortured and locked up and tied to beds and drugged, or even just put in jail and locked in a room all day, being told when I can eat, when I can shower, what I can eat, when I can talk to people. It's just something about knowing that can't happen to me anymore. And so I got a whole power trip, and I was like, I'm gonna play the game. And so they were asking me about my name and stuff, and I didn't even tell them. And then they did that thing that manipulative people who work for the Cash for Kids system and related branches always do, where they show up and they say, you're not in trouble, we're just worried about you. First of all, no, you're not. You just want to lock me up in some institution. And what was I about to say? Oh yeah, and then it's stupid that they always say that, because it's like, whenever the police show up, somebody's in trouble for something. So I find it really, really funny that when they show up, the first thing that they say to people is, you're not in trouble. That's what these types of manipulative systems do all the time. And something that I noticed is that police and doctors are really, really similar. Kind of reminds me of this saying that police are to black women what... Wait, no. Doctors are to black women what police are to black men. But this isn't a racial thing. It's not that at all. I'm not even trying to go there. But it just reminds me of that saying. But this is an ageist thing. So this wasn't racial. I mean, honestly, probably some of it was. But this is an ageist thing. But it just reminds me of that saying. Which is true, to be honest. But I would say, honestly, the Western medical system is to people what a terrorist would be to people. That makes sense. Honestly, that should be a saying, though. But to get back to the point, they were playing their little mind game crap that they do to try to, like, make me feel like they actually care about me and they want to help, quote-unquote, minors, but they really don't. They just wanted to locked me back up in the system, and then they were like, we don't have a probable cause to arrest you because you haven't done anything wrong. First of all, that's bullcrap. You guys know you're here to arrest me because you feel like I'm somebody that's homeless underage that you're going to be able to throw into the system and lock up because either you want to lock me up until you can get me back to whatever situation I escaped, or you feel like my parents are dead or whatever and I don't have anybody. And people think that doesn't happen in the U.S., but it does. I actually know somebody firsthand who their parent overdosed and died, and the police didn't even check to make sure they had somewhere else to go. But that's another story. So anyway, they either feel like the first thing I said, or my parents are dead or whatever, or they abandoned me and I don't have anybody. So they're going to be able to make money off of me and make me a product to the Cash for Kids system. And I'm not even going to have anybody to come and say, where'd my kid go or something like that. That's why they came, obviously. But of course, these people are always really manipulative. So they like to play these types of mind games with you. And the lady was even like, well, I was only close to one of my parents and not so much the other. And they do things like that because they're trying to make it seem like they're sympathizing with you. And they're trying to make it seem like they care and like they understand your pain. But really they don't. They're just there to lock you up and throw you in some system to be sodomized and drugged. That's all they're really trying to do. Or to be trafficked around to different abusive, quote-unquote, foster parents or whatever. Which, of course, if I was still underage, they wouldn't even really do that. They would just throw me back into the situation I left after having me locked up wherever for however long. But, yeah, so I didn't tell them anything, but then they were like, then they went through my bag and they ended up finding my ID and all that, so they had to let me go. And that's where the power trip comes in, because it's like, you guys thought that I was still a quote-unquote minor and that you were going to be able to send me off to some TTI to be beat on and starved and whatever, but you can't do that to me anymore. And that's where the power trip comes in, because like I said, you can't hurt me anymore. And of course, you know, I don't even know what I was about to say, but it was something else that was said too, because there's a couple key points I wanted to get in here in this video from the conversations. So one was that the police were like, somebody had called and said that someone really young was holding up a sign. First of all, street kids is a really big known thing, and the term street kids is literally kind of like coined from the West Coast. So it's a known fact that there's plenty of kids that run around here homeless their whole life with nobody. And I was like, oh, okay, so I mean, most of the homeless people are young. And it's like, I was like, they're either really young or they're really old. And then she was like, so you're saying there's no in between? And I'm like, I'm not saying that there's no in between, but I'm just saying that, like, it's mostly people who are really young or really old. But of course, society isn't gonna want to admit that, because then they're gonna have to take accountability for not only why the kids and young adults are on the streets, but just why anybody's on the streets. And then I mentioned the whole dumped out foster kid thing. I think I mentioned that. I know I said the first part. And of course, they just did a little eye roll. I like playing the games with these people that they like to play with people like me. Also, not even a power trip. It's just like knowing that I really pieced together the whole Cash for Kids system, and I pieced together all their lies, and like, in their lies don't work on me, like their little manipulation tactics of we want to help everybody and we're here to help and we care and all that bull crap. It's just funny to see people who claim that they got a job to quote unquote help people play the little mind games and cover up the stuff that the system does as they do. And so I'm trying to think of something else. Oh yeah, so they went through my bag. They were patting me down. The lady was all in my socks. She took my bonnet off in front of the traffic. She was all in my shirt and everything. She didn't put her hand in my shirt, but like she was like kind of like lifting my bra to see if I had anything. They were checking me for drugs. And then they were like, well, we don't want you around here. First of all, that was kind of stupid though, because the thing is, they act like people don't go outside and like people don't ride their bikes and stuff. And like, just because things happen, everybody's supposed to be locked up in their house scared. kind of reminds me of this whole other situation that I forgot to make a video about, or remake a video about, where some months and months back, a year ago, the police almost ran me over while secretly following me after claiming I was free to go, which that's kind of a whole nother story. But anyway, they were like, it gets dangerous out here, especially later on in the day, because there's drug addicts and people overdose, and people aren't even really dying from meth and coke and all that. They're really dying because of fentanyl, and there's fentanyl in the air, and you're breathing in fentanyl from the air. And I was like, well, if you guys really care about that, then why don't you give people housing? And also, why are you using people overdosing as like some type of scare tactic when that's literally people committing suicide? And I was like, so because people commit suicide around here really kind of anywhere, I'm supposed to be scared to try to make money because people are violent and dangerous because they're killing themselves. And then I don't know, did I just say this? I think I just said this, but I was like, if that's the case, then you might as well help me get housing if it's so dangerous out here and I'm breathing in fentanyl from the air. And of course they're not going to do that because they don't really care anyway. And so, what's the other thing? They said a whole bunch of bullcrap, as people usually do when they're trying to manipulate you into thinking that they care about you. But it was so obvious by their demeanor that they don't. But of course in these situations, these people never do. Honestly, even if these people did care, their job isn't to actually make sure I get into a safe situation. Their job is to throw me into some institution. That's what their job is. So, like, let's say these people did care, at least one of them cared, it still wouldn't make a difference because their job isn't to make sure I get somewhere safe. Their job isn't to check on me to make sure my situation got better. They're just there to throw me into some jail and call it a day and get their paycheck. But yeah, anyway, after that, this is why I wish I would have made the video like right after it happened, because I remember things more then. But dang, wait a minute. Okay, so oh yeah, one of the ladies told me that she was a social worker, which I've never seen a social worker dressed up as a police officer, but anyway, she said she was a social worker. But then after I started talking about the Cash for Kids system, she claimed she didn't work for foster care or CPS, and I was like, I don't think I said this, but I was just thinking, you literally, the first thing you told me is that you're a social worker. And that's another thing too. When people know that, like, you know what certain systems do, and you don't feel comfortable with that, then they'll switch up on you. Basically, it's kind of like, I can't even think of an example, so I'm just gonna keep going. So, trying to think of some other key detail. I can't think of anything else, so I'm gonna say the other things that I do remember, because I kind of wanted to tell this in order, but... So they found my ID, and then, they seen that I was already in the system, because of course I had to go cancel a missing persons report, and that was here a little couple months ago in January. So I was already in the system because I put my name in there to try to check me for warrants. They were also checking me for drugs, if I didn't already mention that. Because the thing is, if they can't arrest me for one thing, they're going to want to arrest me for another thing. And if they can arrest me and throw me into jail for being a homeless, quote-unquote, minor, they're also going to want to be able to charge me with something else so I can get a whole bunch of time, so I can be another person in the system that they're making money off of and sodomizing in the juvenile jail. So, yeah, so there was that. They checked me for warrants, and then they were mad because they didn't. I really feel like they were just mad because they couldn't win. They couldn't throw me to the Cash for Kids system. I feel like that was more so why they were mad. Of course, they would be annoyed because of things that I was saying, because, like, it's just, I really do get a kick out of playing the same games that these people play with people. I get a kick out of playing those games with them. As bad as it may sound, but I really do. And they deserve it with all the stuff that they do to people in general, not even just quote-unquote minors, that they lock up all the time, especially around here, because like I said, street kids is a big thing in the West Coast. And I've heard plenty of stories of kids who were abandoned at 12, and the police just kept throwing them in jail over and over again for being homeless. And yeah, so anyway, what else could I say? Or what was I saying? Because I was saying something before I said that. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so after them seeing me in the system and them, oh yeah, okay, so they said they were gonna release me, and I was like, oh, so now you're letting me out? And I was like, what happened to helping me get into a safe place with air condition and helping me get into some type of shelter or whatever? And they were like, you were just in a place with air condition, now we're letting you out. And I was like, you know what, that was a good one. That was a good one, because it was, though. And she was talking about the police car. It did have good air condition, though. I was like, yeah, that was a good one. And then, after that, I was like, so now that you're letting me go, does this mean that, like, in fact, no, I think before I even said this, they had already told me to get out of the area and to go somewhere else and go anywhere but there. And then I was like, well, can I still try to, like, hold up my sign for work or whatever, or look for a job or whatever? And they were like, no, you need to get out of here and go anywhere but here. And then I was like, but what about wanting to help me and caring about me? And then they were like, you have a whole therapist at Encompass. And I was like, first of all, those aren't therapists. And they were like, well, case manager or whatever, you have them talk to them for help. And that's the thing, because they didn't give a crap in the first place. They just saw me as some kid they were going to be able to throw into the Cash for Kids system. They didn't care then. They don't care now. Because, I mean, if they really did care in the first place, which of course I already knew they didn't, it would be really weird for them to all of a sudden be like, well, screw you because you're a few months over 18, so now you don't matter anymore, and now we no longer care. That would just be weird. Unless they're that wishy-washy. That's funny, though. And then I was like, well, I don't even remember what I said, but oh yeah, I said, well, I mean, I'm trying to find work or something like that. And then the dude, one of the officers, was like, well, you're 18, be a grown adult to figure it out. And oh yeah, and they also had mentioned deporting me, which in the homeless community, or at least, well, I don't know if anybody else uses this term, but I use the term deport. Basically, when you're homeless and you're in an area that wants to get the homeless people out, what they do, which I mentioned this before, maybe not on this channel, but what they do is they put homeless people on boats and stuff and ship them to Hawaii, or planes or something like that. Can't even really remember which one. They put homeless people on buses and they ship them to the desert. I don't really know which part of the desert. I don't know if it's Slab City or something else. And the other thing that they'll do to get you out of their sight, they being the police, is they'll ship you back to whatever state you came from. So they were like, do you want to be sent back to the East Coast? And then I was like, no, because I'm still trying to learn a trade since the whole Job Corps thing went how it did. I'm still trying to do that, but it's been a little drifty. But yeah, so I'm waiting to, like, I don't know, get into some type of program. Well, not program, trade school. I don't know. But anyway, I'm waiting to get into a trade school, so I don't want to go anywhere yet. So I was like, no. And they were like, well, if you ever want somebody to ship you back to the East Coast, then let us know and go downtown and talk to some people that are wearing blue shirts. And I was like, that was a bad little description. I was thinking, like, downtown where? The police department, that kind of is downtown, but I don't really know if that's what they were talking about or not, to be honest. But that's bull crappy, though, because I've been asking places for homebound, Well, I was at one point, just to go back to the state that I was from, but they can't give me homebound because I don't have anywhere to go back to. So that's a whole bunch of bull crap. I mean, honestly, the police department, that's what they're talking about. They probably would because they want to get the homeless people out of everybody's sight anyway. So maybe they do it, but like other resource centers won't. And it's probably some stuff that I'm leaving out. But it's like, honestly, if I would have got thrown into a placement, I would have really wanted to just help everybody escape, to be truthfully honest. That's always been like one of my mouth after daydreams or whatever, just helping people escape from the Cash for Kids system. Although, of course, what comes along with that is actually having a place for people to go, and that's kind of an issue. But, yeah, so it's kind of like the whole boardwalk situation, where like the police wanted to arrest me for being young and homeless, which I was drinking a frappe, but somebody said whatever because I guess I had been there too long. But still, it's like, you're trying to arrest me for being outside by myself, or at least that's the excuse, but it's like most of the people who work at the boardwalk are years younger than I am, and they're doing jobs they're not even old enough to do. But, you know, I mean, I never really know how old people actually think I am, though, because like I said before, due to a couple of things, I look way younger than I actually am. So, like, I'm really small and stuff, so sometimes I don't really know exactly how people think I am, but that's still not even the point, though. And then it's like the police were so mad and they wanted me to get out the area and not, like, hold up the sign anymore, but it's like, I mean, all I'm trying to do is find work, though. It's not like I'm asking people for money, because I would never ask people for money, even if I wasn't in this situation. Because like I already said, due to different things, I never like to have to go to people and ask them for anything. I didn't even like to have to go to parents or relatives and ask them for anything or ask them for money. I always like doing things on my own. So I'm not about to be holding up some sign that says please. And I get that some other people are, because like a lot of people, their health is so bad and they're so old to where like they can't work, or people just won't hire them or whatever. And it's just not for me. Even holding up a sign busking and selling my art and stuff is pretty embarrassing. So the last thing I would ever do is ask people for money. But yeah, so that's that.